Hey everybody, this is Will Jones from Stone Circle Games, and today we're going to do a review of Terra Mystica. Let's open her up. Coming to us from two lovely designers who have completely unpronounceable names, Terra Mystica is a passive interaction, high-complexity territory control game for 2 to 5 players. Terra Mystica takes place in a world of magic.
World of Magic!
In which each player takes control of one of 14 different unique races, all trying to terraform the world to better suit their needs. See, each race has an affinity for a different type of terrain, like, for example, dwarves like mountains. So if you're playing as the dwarves, you spend the game trying to terraform the different terrains around Terra Mystica into mountains to better suit your people. Gameplay takes place on a world map that you cover with modular circles to signify terrain changes. On top of that, you've got all these little pieces that signify different types of buildings, bridges, things like that. And while you're trying to expand your territory out and make the world better suit your needs, there's also a sort of religious side game where you're trying to gain power in various elemental cults: earth, air, wind, fire.
Wind! Water!
Not heart. Play goes around in the circle, and players will one at a time take actions like building new settlements, upgrading existing settlements, sending priests to the various cults, gaining power. Every so often, when you run out of resources, you'll need to pass. Once everyone passes, it goes on to a new round with a new set of income so that it refreshes your options. 6 rounds like that, and the game is over. You total up victory points. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Terra Mystica is just rife with possibility. It's an incredibly complex game with a lot of replay value. I mean, just think about how many races there are. Most asymmetric games with class equivalents will have 5 or 6 options. This has 14 in the base game. I mean, you've got, cultists and halflings and mermaids and nomads and something called fakirs. I don't even know. Dwarves, engineers, alchemists, giants, and my personal favorite, chaos magicians. I don't know what chaos magicians means, but I like that they're going there. And if you just look at one of the boards, there's clearly a lot going on there. You've got all these little bowls of power and shipping tracks, and you can make shovels to terraform with, and you've got an upgrade track for that, and special abilities, and 5 different types of buildings. Of course, the downside to that is that the game can look super intimidating. You crack open that box, and it's just a tidal wave of various pieces and ton of information going around. When you start the game, you have 7 counters per person to put on the board. 1 for each of the cult tracks, 1 for your shipping track, 1 for your spade track, and 1 for your victory point track. That's a lot to do just to get to 0. And then, of course, there's your scoring tiles, your favor tiles, your special cards, all of which are going to be shifting and adding on at various times. That doesn't make the game bad, mind you. Just be advised, this isn't something that you're going to grab in 15 minutes and go, oh yes, I understand that. This has some investment, both in terms of time and your psyche. So a little about me. I love asymmetric games. Things that have different classes or different base abilities from square one are really great in my book. And Terra Mystica has one of the boldest asymmetrical designs I've ever seen. Normally in games when you're designing classes, or in this case races, you want the differences between them to be as subtle and small as possible just to help with game balance. If the base level of power for something is 2 and you want to design a high power faction, make their power 3. Just so that you don't run into balance problems later on. That is a lesson that the people who designed Terra Mystica just threw off of a cliff in disdain. They showed no restraint in designing the differences between the various races. There's increase and decreased costs willy-nilly. Some races have really powerful abilities with magnificent costs, and some are really low-key. Some are really synergistic, and some are very standalone. Some you have to play near others, and some are very isolationist. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to how they put these things together. Now that's really great because there's a lot of variety and wildly different play styles. The downside is there are some balance issues. Now granted, the game creators have issued some errata online to help correct some of the more egregious balance errors, but there's still some problems, and there are some races that are clearly higher tier than others. No one in my playgroup has managed to win with giants yet, not even close, which can be a little bit of a downer because maybe we really like giants. That in no way kills the fun factor of Terra Mystica. There is some deep strategy here. And if you're the kind of guy who really likes long, intense thinking man's games, Terra Mystica is really gonna tickle you for a long time. You're always of 2 minds in terms of where you want to build your settlements. On one hand, you need room to expand to new territories, but on the other hand, you get steep economic discounts if you build near other people. Sort of, it's easier to trade with people if you're next to them. And also, you want to be able to box people out by limiting their ability to expand. So there's a lot of strategy in terms of where I want to put a base level house, and it only gets more intense from there. A lot of how you score is based on these scoring tiles that are always randomized, one per game round, and everybody shares. You might get points for building settlements at a certain time, or upgrading a trading post at a certain time, or building your stronghold at a certain time, or on a certain round by building shovels that you can use to terraform. So it really changes your strategy on a round-by-round basis, since you can see all these from the beginning of the game and sort of plan things out. The flavor of the game is a little weak. There's a lot of fun up front to choosing your race. Oh, I'm giants, I'm mermaids! But that kind of fades away as soon as the game starts because all the pieces look alike, and it's hard to make swimming through lakes as mermaids feel like swimming through lakes as mermaids given the game mechanics. Not a huge deal, but it would have been fun with a slightly more immersive world. Overall, Terra Mystica is an incredibly ambitious game with a lot of intense strategy and great replay value. I recommend it for any gamer's shelf unless you are a super small box casual gamer. Well, that's about my time. Thanks from all of us here at Stone Circle Games. I hope you really enjoyed this review of Terra Mystica. Go ahead and click below to like and subscribe to us for more great reviews and other content. And until then, have fun around the table.